In the world of super yachts, it's a rapidly changing environment. What is going on right now?
The market's always quite dynamic. We saw an incredibly busy period post-COVID. That's now, we've just coming to it, slowing down a little bit. We're returning to levels that we saw pre-pandemic, so in the time around about 2019. Transaction levels are still strong. I think there's an emphasis on quality. And what I mean by that is actually strong brands are definitely generating a greater level of interest than maybe the lesser known companies.
So in terms of price point, what is currently selling well? Is it sort of 20 million, 30 million, 50 million? What are you seeing that is kind of your current bestseller or the most demanding range of need or requirement?
We're seeing a good demand across the board. I would turn around and say we're in a consistent market where we've seen it being quite hot in the past, but I think we're seeing a really good sort of consistent demand across the board. So from 30 meters, I mean, our specialist market is from 30 meters and up, and I'm saying it is pretty balanced. Pricing has actually turned around and normalized a little bit, so we've seen pricing come down. We've seen a little bit more product coming onto the market as well, so which is great for buyers, so there's a greater choice out of there. And as I mentioned previously, if it's priced right, it's the right brand, there will be buyers out there that are interested to move forward. I mean, that is very much the message that we're getting. It's getting all of those ducks in a row. It's the right location, it's the right broker, it's the right pricing, and it's the right product.
What is happening in the world of explorer yachts? Because I remember maybe a couple of years ago, they really became in the vogue and people were wanting new build explorers. Is that still the case?
Yes, the explorer market, it is still there. It's one of those that we've seen that's growing. And I think people are quite keen to try and go a bit further afield. And it's not for everybody. I mean, that is for sure. But I think there's a greater connectivity that clients want with the water, with activities, and explorer yachts are perfect to actually deliver that experience on board. You'll be able to turn around and get close to the water and go to these incredible locations around the world that aren't necessarily accessible to all yachts. We've just seen the launch of a rebuild called Scintilla Maris, and she's just left London to head up to Norway. She's going up to Iceland, Greenland, and then down through the eastern seaboard of the US, and potentially coming back up and doing the Northern Passage. So there's definitely an increased demand, but probably the mainstream yachting demand that we still see today is the more traditional yacht style that you would expect and you see in the marinas here down on the south of France.
So most people still prefer the heat rather than the cold.
Yes, definitely. Definitely there's a focus on heat, warmth, being able to go swimming in the water, less likely to be swimming up in Iceland maybe than, yes, down here on the French Riviera. Yeah.
So what are the current trends in terms of sustainability, fuel efficiency, etc., solar? We've seen a lot of yachts that have lithium batteries that have caught fire. So what's happening with that right now in the market?
Design in yachting is always evolution rather than revolution. There's a lot of work that's going into sustainability, into fuel economy, and looking at other fuels that can be used, whether it's HVO, or they've been looking at hydrogen, they're looking at methanol. So there's a lot of work going in behind the scenes to actually determine the future of propulsion as well as the fuels that are actually going to power that propulsion. But there is a big focus on sustainability at the minute. I'm actually very proud. This week we've got the Burgess and Blue Ocean's big cleanup week. So we're working with Boat International. We've got all of our offices, all of our crews worldwide going out doing beach cleans. So there is a real focus within the industry to try and make a change for good, which I have to say personally and as a business we're exceptionally proud of.
So Richard, are we seeing any trends where, for me, I like a cold water swim and it's well known, any cryo chambers, any ice baths, are people getting on board? I know I've seen a lot of saunas, but are we seeing any ice baths yet?
I'm not quite so much of a fan of the cold swim, and I think our clientele neither. We haven't seen too many come on board yet. I mean, it's still very much, I think the trends that we've seen within yachting is, you know, the aft end of these yachts, as we've seen, they're all opening up. It's creating that amazing sort of sociable space that's multi-generational. So you've got grandparents, parents, kids, all joining in with the fun whilst on board. So not quite the cold water swimming taking off just yet.
With many clients, from my perspective, they're looking for finance, want certain things. What is on the wish list with a super yacht, Richard?
top of the wish list, top of my head, I would turn around and say standout things people are looking for. One is beach clubs. Two, on the larger yachts particularly, we're getting an increased request for heliops. So I think that's very, very key. And the other thing I think we've seen is glass. Is actually that amazing experience of all the glass that you're seeing now built into these yachts. So you get the indoor-outdoor feel. You're inside with the most incredible view that you've got out these fantastic glass windows.
What is a heliop? Never heard of that. What's a heliop?
Heli operations. So just being able to turn around and land on board, touch and go. So that means literally what it is, come on, drop people off and go again. And then you've actually got more of a commercial platform where actually you can turn around and actually strap the helicopter down on board the deck and travel with it. So there you go, heliops.
What's the minimum spend for me to have a helicopter on board a super yacht, Richard?
Well, difficult to spend. If we're talking about new build, I think we're probably going to be looking around about the 70-metre mark. Now, depends a little bit on where you're building, but let's say if you're building in a Northern European shipyard, you're going to be probably somewhere in the region of 120 to 150 million.
And yes, always, I can privately finance that with a whole global collection of over 500 lenders. And yes, it is possible to get 100% finance when you monetize your assets and use other things that you own if you want to extend it and buy a super yacht. Remember, please always like and subscribe, and if you have any comments or questions, down below, and Richard would be so kind to answer them for you. Thank you.